We just saw WrestleMania, and the WWE and UFC are now one entity. So to say there's a little bit of wrestling news would be an understatement. I'm Robin Lundberg here with Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer. And Dave, let's try and start with the macro view here. With this new deal, Endeavor acquiring the WWE, I think the natural question many are going to have is, what does it mean for the company and for Vince McMahon's role specifically?
It's so early to say exactly. I mean, I think that from a fan standpoint, it's probably not going to make a giant difference. From a business standpoint, I think it's going to make a giant difference. I think there'll be more, they're going to work together as far as leveraging the two brands to increase TV rights, sponsorships, promote each other, more international events that are paid for by international governments. From a revenue standpoint, I think it's going to be pretty big. From a fan standpoint, like what they see on TV as far as the creative goes, the same people are going to be involved in the creative. I mean, Paul Levesque is in charge. Vince McMahon is involved, and he's been involved since he returned, even though they kind of try to downplay it. I mean, he has been, and now he, pretty much today said, I'm going to be involved in the big picture stuff, like as far as the WrestleMania matches or the pay-per-view matches or the main events and finishes and things like that. Yes, Vince will have a hand in all that, but the TV show itself on the day of the show and everything, that's all going to be Paul Levesque.
Speaking of the finishes of a main event, I mean, the thing that's been talked about is Roman Reigns beating Cody Rhodes, and I could see it being Cody's moment. I can also see running with Reigns, to 1,000 days, but there's been a lot of complaints from some sections of wrestling fans, and then those wondering, was it Triple H? Was it Vince McMahon? Was this always the plan?
It was both, and always was both. And as far as the plan, I couldn't say like if at any point it was different than this. Certainly that people expected Cody to win, but they do unexpected things. But yeah, in the end, it was both of them, and always would have been both of them.
Now, as far as Roman, what they do with him going forward, is it, Cody going through adversity? Is it Jey Uso maybe finally turning on him? Are they still trying to build to The Rock? Where do you think they're mapping this out?
I think all of those things are are in the plans. At some point, Solo Sikoa, all of them. I mean, they've got a lot of storylines involving this, and maybe that's the key to keeping it on Reigns. I think they have to go with Cody at some point just because of the way the storyline is. To me, this would have been the night to do it, would have been last night. It may have hurt its peak, but everyone's got their own thoughts on the whole thing, and there's no right or wrong, and it's not like there's no decision that's going to hurt them. I mean, if this was 20 years ago, these type of decisions, would have hurt if it was the wrong decision. But right now, the money's guaranteed either way. They can do whatever they want. And, fans can be mad, but they'll probably continue to watch. I don't think there's going to be any mass turnoff because they didn't get what they wanted at WrestleMania. There'll be people who are unhappy. But if they're passionately unhappy, I think WWE would consider that a good thing. If they didn't care, I think that WWE would consider that a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that's right on the money. And I love the Bloodline saga, so I could see that unfolding organically. But just to a quick point that has been talked about so much, The Rock did post that video, I think, after the main event on Saturday. Is that him stirring people up, or is there any more smoke to that eventual dream match fire?
That was the plan for this year. And, he had a lot of things going on, the launch of the XFL and things like that. So it didn't happen this year. I know that when the deal for Roman and The Rock kind of fell through, which would have been the latter part of last year, early part of this year, but really the latter part of last year, it was kind of intimated to me that it could still happen in Philadelphia, which is next year's WrestleMania. But I wouldn't consider it a lock or anything like that. I mean, I would say it's a possibility, but as each year goes by, I consider it and Dwayne gets older, I consider it less of a possibility. But, there's a chance. They've talked about it. I don't think it's a done deal, though.
Any things that you're hearing about as the next phase of this plan? Because Triple H did say, he finds it funny when people say, how did that not happen? And he said that's just the end of the chapter. The next one's about to start, and it's going to be interesting.
Well, the book never ends, so you're always doing something. So, the idea of who to put on top is based on who they feel should be on top for the most intriguing storylines. And I think they want to build Roman Reigns into this Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan level guy. And I think that the long title reign has always been designed for that. So it's like, do they want to go with him for 6 years, 4 years? When do they feel that it will be at that level where he's made for life? And I don't know the answer to that. And, he's not going to lose until they're ready. Cody could have been the guy. Sami Zayn could have been the guy. And they still could be the guy. That could happen at any time. I would think that it would be, one of the big pay-per-views. I don't think they would do it at a small pay-per-view at this stage of the game just because of how long the thing has been and how much they built it up. And, there comes a point where you do have to make a move. And, but evidently last night was not that point. Like I said, I think most people expected it, but I always thought, look, there's no guarantees. Some matches, who's going to win. And to me, this one was one where it's like, I knew it could have gone either way.
And really, isn't that pro wrestling at its finest, Dave? Appreciate the time.
Yes, absolutely.